think most people are looking for more simplicity these days. That's one reason I appreciate Azure's Standard. At first, I thought it was just about groceries. Then, I discovered gardening supplies, pantry staples, household products, and so many of the other things we use every day. They've spent over 30 years delivering clean, organic groceries and earth-friendly products to families who care about what goes on their plates and into their lives. Everything they offer is rooted in real nutrition, transparency, and trust. What I like is that it encourages a different mindset. Instead of constantly running to the store, you begin thinking about your home differently. You stock your pantry, you plan family meals, maybe you plant a garden. You become a little more intentional about what you bring into your home. That's what abundance means to me. Experience new products and stock up on your favorites during this month's Waves of Abundance sales. Discover a simpler, healthier way to shop for the things that matter most at AzureStandard.com. That's AZURE Standard.com.
Hey there, island dreamers, locals, and anyone craving a slice of paradise. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time, to the Fun in Key West podcast, where the vibe is always laid back, the stories are salty, and the drinks, well, they're definitely frozen. I'm your host, Michele O'Connor, your unofficial tour guide to the Conquered Public. Whether you're planning your first trip, your fifth trip, or you're just daydreaming about trading the cubicle for the ocean breeze, you are in the right place. Here's the deal. This podcast is your insider's guide to all things Key West. We're talking where to eat, hello, conch fritters and key lime pie, where to drink, spoiler alert, there will be rum, where to stay, and all the quirky, wonderful things that make Key West the one-of-a-kind paradise we all love. Plus, we'll keep you up to date on the latest happenings, festivals, events, maybe even the occasional Hemingway lookalike sighting. And just to keep things spicy, we'll be bringing on some amazing guests now and then, locals, business owners, and people who know the island like the back of their sandy hand. So grab your flip-flops, pour yourself a cold one, and let's escape to the island state of mind together, whether you're tuning in from your hammock or your commute, while wishing it was a hammock. We've got all the Key West goodness coming your way. Thanks for being here. It's going to be a lot of fun in Key West. Let's dive in. Welcome, my friend. Today we are talking books, Buffett, Key West bars, tropical crime, and what happens when one rainy weekend turns into a 25-book adventure. My guest today is Charles Chip Bell, author of the Jake Sullivan series and the man behind our August 2026 Fun in Key West book club pick come Monday. Chip is a longtime trial attorney from Western Pennsylvania, but somewhere along the way, a chance meeting with Jimmy Buffett, a love of storytelling, and a few unforgettable trips to Key West sent his life in a completely different direction. We're talking about the real friendship behind Jake and Mike, the Key West places woven into the books, the music inspired by the series, Hollywood dreams, Caribbean beer, rum plans, and the very serious question of pierogies versus pepperoni rolls. Today's episode is sponsored by the Eyewitness Key West True Crime Tour. This is not a ghost tour. These are true stories of scandals, smugglers, gamblers, crimes, and some truly colorful characters, all connected to the streets of Old Key West. You can learn more and book your tour over at FunInKeyWest.com/crime. Now grab a cold drink, pull up a bar stool, and let's escape to Key West with Chip Bell.
Welcome to Fun in Key West, where every day feels like a mini fest. Grab a drink, take it slow. We'll show you where the locals go. Food, fun, and stories to tell. Hidden gems you know so well. Your Key West experts here to say it's fun in Key West every day.
Welcome to the Fun in Key West podcast. I am so glad that you are here. If you are joining us live, be sure to say hey in the comments and we'll do a shout out and answer any of your questions. But today we are talking with Charles Chip Bell, author of the Jake Sullivan series and our August book club book pick, which is Come Monday. And what began with one book has now grown into 25 Jake Sullivan adventures, music, movie and television projects, and even a few adult beverages along the way. But before we get started today, our episode is sponsored by Eyewitness Crime Tour. And the Key West may look like sunshine, cocktails, colorful houses, and postcard perfect streets. But those same streets have witnessed plenty of real scandals, smugglers, gamblers, crimes, and characters behaving very badly. The Eyewitness Crime Tour takes you through the true crime side of Old Key West, and this is not a ghost tour. These are real stories connected to real people and real places shared as you walk through the very streets that they unfolded. It's a perfect tour for anyone who enjoys true crime, Key West history, and discovering the stories hiding behind paradise. So you can learn more over at FunInKeyWest/crime. So now, Chip is joining us from Western Pennsylvania, and I am sitting here in West Virginia. So before we escape to Key West, we need to settle a few regional differences here. But first, Chip, welcome to the Fun in Key West podcast.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Great. So before we get into Come Monday and all of this stuff, give everyone a quick version of who Chip Bell is and how a Western Pennsylvania attorney ended up creating 25 tropical crime adventures.
I was born and raised in a little town outside of Pittsburgh. Lived there all my life. Graduated from high school. Went to college at Allegheny College up in Meadville, Pennsylvania. That's in the northwest part of the state. Right after I got out of college, I was drafted. Went into the Army. Was in that for 2 years. And then when I came out, I decided I was going to go to law school. In the interim, I had met my wife and we got married. And I decided to go to law school at night, so it took me 4 years because that way I could work at a job and help support us. And after the 4 years of night school at Duquesne University, I graduated with my JD. I ended up with a law practice down in Washington, PA, which is closer to West Virginia. It's in the southwest corner, about 50 miles away from where I lived. So I was there for 23 years. And then I left and went on my own. And it's been another 23 years that I've been on my own in a small town called New Kensington, which is right across the river from Toronto. So I'm basically still at home in my hometown area. And I've been a trial attorney for personal injury cases for almost 50 years now.
Wow. What a history, a story, and a career that all kind of shows itself in the books. And so for that regional play in Come Monday, you make a nod to the rivalry, which is pretty intense between WVU and Pitt. If anybody follows ESPN and sports and McAfee, you will know that story for sure. But what made you think to put that whole thing in Come Monday?
Well, it's like you said. I mean, I put a lot of things, not about me specifically, but about the area, especially when I first started the series, because I wasn't really sure which way it was going to go, to be honest with you, how I was going to handle. I didn't even know if I was going to write another book. And I wasn't sure how I was going to set it up or anything else. So I just decided to do things I'm interested in. And I was always a big Pitt basketball fan, especially back in the years when they were really good and West Virginia was really good. And those were some battles. Mm-hmm. So I just picked one of those to, my guy, Jake Sullivan, likes Pitt and likes Pitt basketball. And I figured, why not?
There you go. So let's settle this once and for all on this regional showdown then. What would you choose? A Pittsburgh pierogi or a West Virginia pepperoni roll?
And you can't make a closing argument. You have to choose one.
Pittsburgh pierogi.
I'll give you that. So what goes inside the perfect pierogi?
Well, when my wife does them, it's a lot of cheese and onion.
Ooh. Fried
That's
or
the one thing,
steamed?
fried. Yeah,
Fried.
fried. Always fried. Always
Oh,
fried. With a lot more onions fried around them.
there you go.
That's the
And
way I
for
like it.
and for those of you who are going, what in the world are those two people talking about? Look it up because pierogies are amazing and you can still find them in the freezer section. They're not as good as homemade and
Yeah.
freshly done. Pepperoni rolls have their own history, and there's a whole controversy about slices or sticks and cheese or no cheese. So, yeah, it's a thing. It really is.
Oh yeah, it is. Yes.
So before there were 25 books, there was a rainy day and a Jimmy Buffett song and an idea that could probably have disappeared by the next day. So take us back to that rainy day in 2010 that made you finally say, I should write a book.
Well, I have to go back a little further than that.
Okay.
In 2009, I took my best friend, whose name is Mike Langer, and Jake's best friend in the book is Mike Lang.
Mm-hmm.
And the banter that goes on between Jake and Mike in the book is what happens between Jake and me in real life. I mean, Mike and me in real life. So for 2009, he was 50 years old, and I took him on a sailing trip through the British Virgin Islands.
Mm-hmm.
We were at the Soggy Dollar Bar on the island of Joseph Van Dyke. Now, Mike is the one who had got me interested in Jimmy Buffett. He liked Buffett. He had gone to a lot of concerts. I had never been to a Jimmy Buffett concert. I knew obviously a few of his songs, Margaritaville, etc., but I really didn't know about Jimmy Buffett particularly. Well, I went to my first concert with Mike, and after that, I was hooked, as a lot of people are, and I really enjoyed his music and started buying more and listening to more and everything else. So we're on the island of Joseph Van Dyke, sitting outside the Soggy Dollar Bar, and I look down to my right down the beach, and I turned to Mike. I said, "Mike, that's Jimmy Buffett." And he said, "No, it isn't. You're crazy." I said, "Well, I think it is." I kept looking. I said, "You sure?" He looked down. He goes, "No, that's not Jimmy Buffett." I said, "Well, I'm going down and find out." So we went down. It was Jimmy Buffett.
Oh,
There were two rows of people sitting in chairs between him and the water, and he was standing behind one with his arms crossed in a t-shirt and a baseball cap, talking to people. So we approached and just stood there pretty much like idiots because I didn't want to interrupt him. He was talking to somebody he knew. And finally, I think it's Mike Ramos, his manager, came up to where we were standing, and I looked at him, and I said, would it be all right if we said hello? And he says, "Yeah, just, wait till he's done," which we intended to do anyway. So we did, and he turned around, put out his hand, and said, "Hi, my name's Jimmy." And of course, we sort of laughed because we knew who he was, and we introduced ourselves. We talked for a little bit. I could tell he was getting a little antsy because there was a large crowd on the beach, and if anybody found out, I guess I was the first person to find out who he was on the beach.
mm-hmm.
He'd have to fight his way to his boat. So he said, "Well, I got to get going," and I said, "Before you leave, I just want to tell you, I really like your music. I really do. But I really, really like the stories you tell in your music." And he said, "Hey, stories just come from living. That's all." So he made his way, and there was some girl stood up and screamed, "That's Jimmy Buffett." And all of a sudden, everybody started. But he made his way to his boat and got away. So now we're to the October rainy, cold day.
Right.
I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, he's right. So you gotta make stories about what you've done, how you lived, and everything else. So I decided to write a book. I decided I would call it Come Monday after I figured I could do it in a weekend, starting on a Friday and ending on a Monday. So it made sense. And Come Monday was my youngest daughter and mine's song after I became involved with Jimmy's music.
Right.
So that was the title. That was the title for it. So I did it and, put it out there. At that time, I had a local publishing company that was publishing my books. And they did that for about the first, I don't know, 4, 5, 6. I can't remember how many exactly. And then the cost of it was excessive. And, I was just selling on Amazon. I wasn't out there doing much anything else. I certainly wasn't being sought after by Random House or anybody. So, I told my oldest daughter, who had all this technology, as my youngest one does too, but she was not living at home then. She had moved. And I said, you can do this. We're just going to put these on Amazon. And she learned how to do it, and she's done them all since then. Still does it.
Awesome.
And after I did the first one, a lot of people told me they liked it. I liked doing it. I had time to do it the way I set my schedule. I did it mostly on weekends when I dictated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a spoken word to my secretary as everything else is.
Right.
And then she types it and I review it. So I said, well, you know what I can do? I can make a series, and I can make them all Jimmy Buffett song titles.
Right.
So I figured, marketing, it might work. It ties them all together, but each one could be separate.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened. That's what it did.
That's awesome. So I'm probably going to date myself a little bit here, but when you dictate, do you dictate into a dictaphone, or do you use a software on your computer to dictate into?
I dictate on this.
Okay.
And it goes right to her dictation machine. She's across the hall from me. It goes right to her dictation machine, and that's it. That's why I dictate all my legal stuff too. I've always done that. But I also figured that was the easiest way for me to do the books, and the fastest way. And also, it's just my opinion, and I could be wrong. But when I speak, I can speak sort of in a context that you are in when you speak.
Right.
It's different than the written word.
Exactly.
So she knows the highs, and she knows me. She knows the highs and lows of what I'm saying, and whether it's exciting or not exciting, and she'll type it accordingly.
Okay.
So I can make it as close to the actual oral thing I'm doing that way that's on the written. So that's the way we do it.
So for you kids watching, if you have no idea what a dictaphone is, Google it. You'll probably find one on eBay. It's the old version of whisper flow. So
it's for the old timers. It's for the old timers like me.
Yeah, when we used to have to type and not have I can remember those. So when you sat down and created Come Monday, I got a couple questions. First, did you have Jake in mind, or did he just kind of evolve as you made the story?
Both.
Okay.
I wanted to have a lawyer in the first one because I knew that's what I knew best. So I made him a lawyer. I wanted to have a buddy. I wanted to have him have a buddy. So that was Mike, my buddy.
Right.
And so I sort of had that action between them was easy to dictate because it's the way we are. So as I told you, but as it evolved, I didn't want it to be a courtroom drama.
Okay.
I didn't want it to be a lawyer story. So I had him as a lawyer, which changed as we went along because of what I knew, and I felt more comfortable that way. But I didn't want this to be a courtroom drama. I mean, there is a courtroom scene, a couple of them, but not much, really, except at the end. So it wasn't that much of a lawyer book. It was more, chasing bad guys and, in the keys and all that stuff, which is what I wanted to do, which I've done more of as we've gone along since.
Right. So for somebody who has received a cease and desist letter from Margaritaville, how did you not end up with one by using Jimmy Buffett song titles?
Well, there are a couple things. Number one, you can't copyright a title.
Okay.
A title is just words. It's not anything. So you can look at, if you look at Amazon at books, they're all from other titles, other things, and that you could do that. That's as far as it went. But for me, I was very lucky. When I first did Come Monday and it was out, the gentleman who runs BuffettNews.com did a big splash about it when I did it. I called Margaritaville and I asked them if they would be interested in selling it. And I can't remember who the manager was then, but she was very nice, and she told me, "Yes, we will. We'll do it. But I got to tell you, I can't say you're going to sell a lot, but we'll try it for a year because people that come here want the books that Jimmy has written primarily, and people that they associate with Jimmy. And I understand that; that makes sense. But I wanted to do it, and they did it. And so there was never a problem with that aspect of it. And as I understand it, for people who in the parrot head world who are close, as at least they say they are close or were close to Jimmy, he has read them, and people in his band have read them, and no one's ever complained about it to me. So that's all I know. I don't know if that's true or not. I think I talked to Jim Mayer, and I think he did tell me because he was at. I used to go to the meeting of the minds in Key. That's where I started going to Key West, and so my books there. And Jim Mayer was there once. He was selling a book about something he was doing outside of music, and he and I started chatting, and he knew about the series, and that's all I know really. Though I never pushed it farther than that. I didn't feel I had a right to, and if anybody wanted to come up to me and tell me something, that was great, but I wasn't going to push it.
That's awesome. If you could go back and sit with yourself when you were sitting down writing come Monday, is there anything you would warn yourself about? And is there anything that you would say, oh, by the way, make sure you don't change this?
I think the interaction between the bartender whose name was Mac in that book, I would not change. Most of the dialogue between Jake and Mike, I would not change.
Okay.
Perhaps descriptions of things. I think I've gotten better at that as I've gone along. Building streets, things like that. I always get maps. Like someone, when I wrote a book about Puerto Rico, someone sent me an email and said, I go to Puerto Rico all the time. And I got to tell you, you have San Juan down exactly the way it is.
That's awesome.
And someone told me that about Havana too, because I get maps and I don't even, if the street's one way, I make sure I'm going the right way on the street.
That's awesome.
That's as close as I can come to being there when it's places I haven't been to.
Yeah.
Now, if I've been there, I feel more comfortable about describing it in my own eyes, but that's how I do it. I've never had any real criticism as such about any of that. Most people have told me that have read the book say that the scenes are very descriptive and very good. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect, that's for sure. And I'm sure if I put my mind to it, or if I did it a different way, I might do it better. But this has always been, I wouldn't call it a labor of love, but it's fun for me.
Yeah.
I mean, my life's divided into work, that's being a lawyer, my family, my book, and my writing.
There you go.
And the only one I'm not giving up is family. Okay? I'm going to retire from my law practice soon, maybe at the end of this year, maybe end of the next year. Like I said, I've been doing it for 50 years. I'm 77. It's getting, to the point where, and I don't know if I'm going to write more books or not. I wrote one out of the series, as you probably know, but I don't know. I don't know. But this has just been. I've met people I never would have met. I've gone places I probably never would have gone to, and it's just been a joy for me.
There you go.
That's all I can say.
So, what does your real life friend Mike think of Mike that is Jake's friend?
Mike's common quote after every book he reads is, I could have been a lot funnier.
Is he funny in real life?
Yes, he is. Like I said, the banner that's in there is the way we talk to each other. And I always tell him, no, you couldn't. Be happy you're there. So you couldn't be funny. I did the best I could with you. That's just the way we talk to each other.
And it comes through. That's true banter in the books.
I hope so. I hope it does.
You've got 25 books with Jake Sullivan in it. When you go back to Come Monday, what feels different now on version 25 of Jake versus version 1?
Well, without giving a lot away, I mean, Jake has changed dramatically. His life has changed dramatically. Mike's life has changed dramatically. Their friendship, because of a lot of things, has changed dramatically. So it has been an evolution over time that the work they are in and the things that they have done have sort of come home,
Mhm.
and they have to deal with that in a slightly different way. And they're older, their families are older, and I've got it to the point. I stopped it where I stopped it because I thought it fit.
That makes sense.
It just
So
seemed to me to be a natural, good ending.
I like
So
things
that,
tied up with a nice, neat bow. Sometimes that makes it feel better.
yeah, yeah. And that's not saying maybe I won't get the urge get an itch, do another one someday. But I don't know. So far, I haven't gotten the itch.
So Jake obviously has a legal background, much like yourself.
Right.
But as we start to read come Monday, he becomes involved in a world that is about justice and the law. But we find that they're not always the same thing. And Jake is needing something and looking for something in the book. How did you make him not a victim in the book, but really reflect that fine balance between justice and the law?
Well, I think that people look at the law as being, certain books and papers that tell you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you can do, what you can't do, what the repercussions are if you do the wrong thing. But I also think that there are people who are involved in the law and outside of that, outside of the law, that really believe in justice. And I determined that Jake and Mike would be people who were more concerned about justice than they
Mhm.
were about legality.
Yeah.
And as the series grew, that I would hope, that became very evident that that was the way things were going to go. And that's why when the president's tenure ended, his terms ended, he founded an investigation firm, and they basically became troubleshooters and investigators
Mhm.
under that umbrella. And they weren't really acting as lawyers anymore. They had become something else.
Mhm.
And I think early books, with what happened to Jake and Mike, led them to that ultimate position.
Okay. As you were writing the book, was there something that your lawyer had said, you know what, that would never happen? But your novelist hat was like, oh, but that would be so fantastic.
No, I didn't have much lawyerly stuff in there to begin with. And, the thing about, people could say, well, he'd never put that important thing where he put it,
Mhm.
what happened and all that. But I've walked out of this office with things I needed that I didn't take, and with things I took that I didn't need.
Mhm.
And it can happen. I mean, people get into a mindset about things that it can happen. So I don't think there was anything that was really outlandish. I mean, he didn't become Superman. He didn't become Zorro. He didn't become, a Marvel comic character. He
Right.
just had problems in his life. He had lost faith in part, not entirely, but in the system, but still believed in justice.
Mhm.
And I think that's the way they went. I think that's the way the books went.
Yeah. And maybe I read something into how you developed Jake as a character along the series, but I don't think, and maybe I might be wrong, there's anything about Jake that you would pull him aside and say, hey, we need to have a serious conversation about this or that. I think you've written Jake to be kind of even keeled and ex-
Yeah, yeah. He is. He has. He gets to the point sometime where he sort of revolts against the system more than others.
Mhm.
But he's basically acting on behalf of people who are being harmed or hurt, and doing it in a way that is not really extra legal. I
Mhm.
mean, they become more armed with weapons in later books because their adversaries become armed with weapons in later books. They deal with cartels. They deal with, you know, bad leaders in different parts of the world, and it just becomes a part of it. And I just think that, in part, is reality, as long as they don't get to be the point where, like I said, they become superheroes in an unnatural fashion that really doesn't exist. And I tried to avoid that, and I hope I did.
I think you did. Have you ever started to write a scene where then you know exactly what Jake would do, but then you can hear Jake going, "No, I'm not doing that."
Oh yeah, yeah, I have. I've changed things. Yeah, I do edit after edit after edit, and it's not just about typos or anything. I look at it, I think about it, I think, well, you know what? It would be a heck of a lot better story if he did this,
Hmm.
and then I change it.
Has anybody ever recognized themselves as one of your characters, then you were hoping they would not recognize themselves as that character?
No, I mean the only one that's really taken after anyone is Mike,
Okay.
and I have put people's actual names in the books because they have wanted me to.
Oh, that's fun.
If anybody comes up to me and says, "Would you put me in your book?" I said, "Sure, I'll put you in my book," and I'll put them in the book.
There you go. So when you're starting to write a book, do you start with the destination? Do you start with a story? Do you start with a crime? Do you start
Well,
with the Jimmy Buffett song title? Where do you start from?
I do. I that's not entirely true. What I do is I'll think about some place where I've been or that I think might make a good story, and I research it like crazy.
Okay.
I research legends and lore about the island I'm talking about. Or like Volcano ended up being a whole story about people that were involved in the American Revolution and the politics of those people, and how this one guy who happened to be a Frenchman who died on the island of Montserrat caused all this sort of to happen. And I found that by looking into the island of Montserrat. Once I had that, I mean, the story just, I mean, I went. That was it. I didn't need more than that. I could see how it would play out, and it did. Um, so that's what I do a lot. I do a lot of research into legends and stories, and uh, the municipalities I'm going to be involved with, the islands I'm going to be involved with, and I try and find something that's a hook. And like this was going to be, I found this guy on Montserrat, so I
Mhm.
made the title of that with Volcano, because that's why it was called Volcano, because of the volcano on Montserrat.
Right.
The book, the song. So I named the book Volcano. It just fit.
Yeah. Is there a Key West story or legend that you would like to put into a book or that you made sure that went into Come Monday?
No, no, there isn't. I tried to deal with Key West like I did everything else that I knew about.
Hmm.
I used my own perceptions based upon what I had done, what I had seen. That's why there's scenes in the chart room, because
Hmm.
that was my favorite place,
Right.
and the schooner wharf for the same reason,
Hmm.
and uh, and I made try to make the streets and the establishments and everything else fit fit the storyline.
Right.
But I really didn't. I mean, Key West is just a natural by itself for a storyteller, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
It just fits in, and it wasn't hard to do.
It almost writes itself for sure.
Yeah, really, it does. Yeah.
Is there a place that after people read Come Monday that you go, this is where I want you to go so that you can really experience Key West the way I want you to experience it?
Yeah, I think this, like I said, the places I talk about, um, the chart room, schooner wharf. I think, and there's a lot more. Obviously, I mean, Key West has a lot to offer to people. I don't think most people even know about. There's so much there, um, and for me being there, like 4 days when I was down for meeting of the minds primarily, and then other times when we just went on vacation.
Hmm.
Um, you're sort of limited into what you can do. You sort of have to figure, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I was fortunate when I first got there. I met a lot of people in the chart room who now are unfortunately deceased. I mean, I met Tom Cochran there. I met Steve Thompson there and his wife Cindy,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they were very kind to me. They really were, and they sort of not took me under their wing per se, but I kept seeing them when I went down, and we sort of developed some type of a relationship, long distance most of the time, but when I was there, and I tried to show that side. That's what people are like overall, Key West. I think at least the people that I met then. Uh, I know people say it's changing. I don't know if that's a fact. It could well be, but the people I met and I enjoyed and I had a good time with were very, very good people.
Yeah.
And they had boy, do they have stories to tell.
Oh,
Stories to tell. And I used some of those in the books. I did. I used some of them.
oh, that's cool.
Not with the names of the people they told me about, if they did give me the names, but I used the situational thing in my books. And I fell in love with Key West, and I was happy to use it whenever I could. But then I decided I wanted to. I think if I had kept the series there, I know Tom had a good series. I loved his series.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cochran about Key West, but it was a different kind of thing because this was a citizen primarily,
Right.
who were interacting with other citizens that he knew every day. Just
Mm-hmm.
knew all about the place. And I think they were great books about Key West. I truly, I wouldn't even try and compare mine to his on that score. They were great, but mine was getting to deal with beyond that to international issues, crimes, cartels, all that. So I wanted to go. I decided I would go more now to the islands that I went to,
Right.
and islands I learned about, and make them part of that more than I would Key West. Although I kept everybody based there. That was home base for everybody.
Right.
That's where the office was, and that way I could still tie in Key West.
Yeah.
To everything.
Yeah.
Like when John McDonald and I got involved, I had him in one of the books because he was down in Key West singing. So I
Right.
could do that.
Oh, yeah.
So it worked out okay.
Which leads me to there were actually songs written, and you have some part in it on creating theme songs for the Jake Sullivan series. How did that begin?
Well, first thing I did, I think I met him at Meeting of the Minds. I met Donnie Brewer,
Mm-hmm.
and I had talked to him, and I said, Donnie, would you like to write a song about the series? And he said, sure. I'll give that a whirl and see. And so we, went back and forth about things and different ideas. Now, I mean, the song "The Ballad of Jake Sullivan" is Donnie's. It's not mine. I mean, I gave him the idea of Jake Sullivan, who he was, what he did, but all the wordplay and the way the song is structured and the music, that's Donnie. I am terrible. I can't carry a tune in a bucket. Ask my daughters; they'll tell you. I start singing a song and they tell me to be quiet. I mean, I just don't have that talent. So that one was done by Donnie, and he was kind enough, very kind, to put it on the album that he was doing at the time, Blue Lagoon. And after that, I met can't think of his name at the moment. That's terrible. Eric Stone.
Eric
And I asked him if he would be willing to write a song, and he said, yeah, he would. So he wrote Topical. Oh, I made the title up, which I don't think he ever forgave me for because he didn't like it. But it was Topical Crimes in Tropical Climes. And that one went to the number one on the A1A's Top 40, Trop Rock 40. That went to number one on that. And he did that. And then John McDonald is a little bit more of a convoluted story. I knew John when John was from Boston, went to college in Pittsburgh, and he went to Duquesne. And in the meantime, on his off time and in the summers, he played Trop Rock when there wasn't Trop Rock. He played Buffett stuff and he played his own stuff. And I used to go listen to him. And then I went away to college. I was in the Army. I came home, went to law school. I lost track, and I found out that he had left Pittsburgh some time before that. And that was as far as it went. I just knew he wasn't there anymore. So as things would have it in Key West, I'm walking in to Captain Tony's saloon, And who's sitting on a stool in the doorway but John McDonald?
Wow.
I looked at him, and he sort of looked at me. He didn't know me. I looked and I said, "You're John McDonald." He said, "I am." I said, "What are you doing down here?" And he explained that he was playing
Mm-hmm.
music. And I said, "That's great. Do you live here now?" And he goes, "Yeah, I moved to Florida." I said, "Okay, because I know you weren't in Monroeville anymore, Pennsylvania, and I didn't know what had happened to you, and blah blah blah." So he became interested in what I was doing. He's a great believer in synergy. You have the books, you have the music, you put the books and music together. Uh, so he liked the books and he liked the whole concept. So he started writing songs. He did the one for Montserrat for Volcano.
Mm-hmm.
He did Double S about a devil woman when we were in uh, the other island begins with an M down there. I can't remember at the moment. Anyway, and then I asked him, "Look, I've always thought that it would be great to do a concept album about the Jake Sullivan series." And I said, "I even got the title for it, Everything's Jake, because back in Prohibition, uh, they were putting an additive in the rot gut stuff, and it was paralyzing people, and killing some of them. There were about 10,000 people in this country paralyzed from this stuff. So they started getting in a molasses that wasn't true molasses because there was an embargo on it during the
Mm-hmm.
Prohibition, but it was close enough, and the stuff that they used didn't hurt anybody. So if the people who were making the moonshine find out that that was what was used, it was nicknamed Jake. This product was nicknamed Jake, and they would
Mm-hmm.
tell people everything's Jake, and that's where the term came from. So I said that's how, and I explained this to him, and I said that's how we can tie it in rum, blah 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 blah, and it can be the title Everything's Jake. That's the title of the album, which we did. And he and a friend of his who helps him write songs wrote the songs. I helped contribute some lyrics, not a lot, but I gave him ideas. He wanted ideas for each book, but the thrust of it was. Then he took it from there,
That's
and so I have an album out there about Jake Sullivan. So it was great. I mean, you talk about fun. I mean, I was a blast being involved in music because, as I said, I have no right to be involved in music, and it was just total fun.
And I will absolutely include links to the Spotify playlist so that you all can check out the songs because I spent the afternoon just having them playing in the background and they are amazing. So I'm going to ask you a jukebox question.
Okay,
So you're handed control of a jukebox in a Key West bar and you get 3 songs to choose. Which Jimmy Buffett song are you singing? Are you putting on?
Pirate looks at 40.
Okay. Okay. A Trop rock song?
Uh, I really like. There's a song on Everything's Jake about a boat club in Arizona,
Mhm.
and I really like that. There is actually a yacht club in the desert
Mhm.
near the California border in Arizona. I found out about, and it was called. It's changed a couple of times, but it's its logo, its word play that they used was a long time no see, SEA, which was in a desert, and it was what was that? Can't
That
remember.
is a great slogan.
Yeah, it really was, especially for that bar.
Yeah.
But it and I met the lady. There was a lady then who owned it. Her name was Mimi. She no longer owns it. I don't know if it's still open or not. But I told her about it. I said, I'm gonna put you in my book. And she said, that'd be great. So I put her in Big Rig because I had a thing about going through Arizona to California, and then he wrote this song about it for the album. It was one of the places I really liked. One of the moments where this series has done things like that, where something
Yeah.
I never would have heard of, or anything else, and it was just it was perfect. So
That's
that's what we did. So that'll be my Trop rock song.
there you go. And now your third song is one that nobody would think that Chip Bell would choose.
Shut. Well, my favorite song, other than outside of course, he did it too, but Buffett song is Southern Cross.
Okay.
Always been, ever since Crosby, Stills, and Nash did it. It was always been one of my favorite songs, and still is.
So if I hear those 3 songs in Key West, I will know that you are in charge of the jukebox.
I'm somewhere. I'm somewhere with quarters in my, well, probably not quarters anymore, in my pocket.
Probably not. It's all digital and
I know. I'll probably have someone with me who can do it for me.
So speaking of bars, you are involved in adult beverages. So give me the background on the beer.
Okay, I found out that there was a place that had opened in a little town up Route 8 from Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
and it was called the Mastic Trail Brewery.
Mm-hmm.
So my son-in-law said, "You know what? He had gone there. He goes, that place is all about the Caribbean. You should get a beer there." So I talked to my daughter Jennifer, who does all this sort of stuff, and I said, "Let's go see this guy." So we did. His name was Ben Williams. He and his wife ran this place, and so they brewed their own beer. So we got together. They brewed a Jake Sullivan Caribbean Lager.
That's awesome.
It was their best seller to the time. Unfortunately, when they had to close, the trouble was they were in a location that no one could find them.
Yeah.
I mean, they were sort of a niche, but and it was they did such a beautiful job with this place. I mean, the bars, this one floor looked like they put on like sand, actual sand, and then covered it with that clear stuff, and
Uh-huh.
it went into the water. And the bar was the same way. Beautiful place. We had a lot of book sales there, and had a lot of John McDonald played there for me a couple times, and we had big parties there with people that were interested in the books and interested in that kind of music. But unfortunately, it just wasn't enough people, I guess, like that they could make it work, and they had to let it go. But yeah, that's where the beer came from.
Now you've got my brain thinking of how my husband can do that in our tiki bar in the basement, because that just sounds amazing. The sand going into the water and then putting that clear stuff over it.
It was the same idea as all these advertisements you see for garages,
Mm-hmm.
where they throw down stuff and put a clear coat. That's all they did. They brought in sand, leveled it out, and then just put the clear coat on.
Huh.
That's how I understand it was done. I could be wrong, but that's what I was told anyway.
I have a kid that's a general contractor, so I will ask him, hey, if I
There you
decide to
go.
put sand in my basement and put some clear coat over it, will you do it?
Yeah.
He'll probably just roll his eyes at me. He'll probably go, Mom, really? So you now also have rum, right?
Well, we were going to.
Okay.
There's a guy down in Florida named Johnny Ringo who has a rum, but it was just a whole thing you had to go through with alcohol.
Yeah.
It got to be too convoluted. We just didn't do it. We were going to, and we made a couple bottles of Jake Sullivan Caribbean rum, mostly for me and that. But we could never really figure out a way to market it that we weren't violating some law somewhere somehow, without doing a whole lot more than I really wanted to do at that point in time. So
Yeah, ABC laws are very tricky, especially across
they are.
state lines.
They are. So especially intrastate and interstate and all that, it gets involved. So this something I wasn't interested in doing.
That makes sense. So you tell stories in the books, and you also have other series other than Jake Sullivan. Did that make you a better lawyer?
I think it made me a better communicator and storyteller. And in trial work, that's what you're doing. You present the facts through witnesses and documents and exhibits. But in the end, a jury has to believe that your client deserves some type of compensation for what happened to them, and they have to believe you, the attorney, are telling them the truth.
Mm-hmm. So what's more intimidating?
We are involved, we're like used car salesmen. We're all over TV making these pitches, and God bless them. I mean, these guys do it. I'm not criticizing them per se, but I just think in the world today, I don't think people truly want to see that when serious issues are involved.
No.
and that's just not my style either. I couldn't do that well. I couldn't. I just couldn't do that well. So I stuck with the way I always did things, and it's worked for me. I mean, I've had a
Mhm.
successful career, and you know, could I have done more with that? Maybe somehow, perhaps, but I'm happy the way I did things.
So what's more intimidating, the facing a jury or facing everybody who's in love with the Jake Sullivan series?
I get pleasure out of both. I don't have any problem with it. I've never been worried about facing a jury.
There you
And
go.
I've lost my share of cases, but that's what happened. That's the way it is. And I always talk to the jury afterwards. At least I try to, and see why. Either way, why did you believe this? Why did you believe what were you thinking? And I've learned from that. I've learned from that a lot too. So now I just try and be myself, and that may not be what some people like, and it may be what some people like.
There you go.
But that's what I got. So that's what I'm doing.
So I read that you have some film and television rights and scripts out there.
Well, yeah, I have a complete movie script and a TV pilot script also, and that's as far as I've gone. I have That's a tough business. It's a really tough business to get into, especially today with the internet, and people can work these things up. And I don't mean badly, but I mean it's quicker. Everything's quicker, and you can send it to a whole bunch of people. And I mean, I literally went through every agent in LA once, and I sent it to all of them, and I got all but two back, and the two that didn't come back, I never heard from about again. So and it's the same form letter. We're sorry, we're gonna. And
Yeah.
I've had people contact Amazon and contact Netflix, and it's just we already have that content. We're already working on that type of story. We already have that. You
Mhm.
know, it's the same thing with books now. And I'm not criticizing these people. People write great books this way, but I mean, my God, anybody can write a book and put it on Amazon.
Mhm.
You don't need publishers anymore. You don't need editors. You just put it out there. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it's just a lot of competition anymore.
Yep.
And I'm sure. Well, I've watched some of them. I've watched stories, on Netflix and Amazon, and they're better than mine, and I freely admit it. So I guess keep plugging away. I told my kids that's going to be my dying present to you. You'll get a movie deal, and you can come tell me in the cemetery, Dad, we got one. I'll be very happy for you both.
Is
And
there
my
a
wife,
is there,
I told her they have to take care of their mother, and that's it.
yeah. Is there a particular voice that you hear that is going to say, "Yep, that's Jake"?
You know what's funny? I always thought that a great team, and I think it was because they actually knew each other,
Mm-hmm.
was Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Ooh.
And Ben Affleck, is tall and dark haired. That's Jake.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Damon is sandy haired and shorter. And that's Mike.
You've
That's
thrown
who
it
I
out
always
to the ether. We'll see what happens.
I always thought that would be a great combination because they do that. They go after each other
Mm-hmm.
in movies. I mean, you can tell that isn't all just script. They've grown up together, they've done things together, and they have that same sort of attitude. That they don't make fun of each other as such, but they're not serious with each other either. They have a camaraderie,
Right.
a real camaraderie that comes through. And I always thought that'd be good for it. I also thought Tim Oliphant,
Mm.
especially when he was doing when he was the Texas Ranger, Justified. I thought he would make a great Jake, and the young guy that was also in his Ranger office, his U.S. Marshal office,
Mm-hmm.
was the smart mouth with him. And I always thought he'd be a great Mike. I'm sorry, I honestly don't know his real name, but I thought those two would be good too.
That's awesome. So, speaking of your wife, Linda, is there any piece of Jake Sullivan merchandise that you've come up with where she went, Chip, no, no, you can't do that?
No, 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 no.
Just whatever you want to do, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, she's very good about that. I mean, I mean, I've loved this woman for 52 years, 52 or 54 years now. I saw her
I won't
once.
tell her you don't know.
I saw her. Yeah, she'll understand that. I saw her once standing in front of a jukebox at a bar in New Kensington that I really wasn't supposed to be at. I went there with a friend because a friend wanted to see a certain girl, and I saw her, and that was it. And I came up to her and we talked. Unfortunately, I had enough to drink, and there were people with her. Her name was Linda Caravaggio,
Wow.
like the Italian painter,
Mm-hmm.
and she had a friend with her. Her name was Karen. So the next time I saw her, I thought her name was Karen Vaggio. So I said, "Hi, Karen. How are you?" She'll kill me for telling this. I said, "Hi, Karen. How are you?" She ignored me. So I did it again. She did it again. And this time I said, "You know, what's wrong with you? I'm trying to be nice to you. If you don't want to talk, that's fine." She was like, "Gladly talk to you if you call me by my right name." Well, then we started talking. I found out the whole thing. So I met her in July of 72. I went in the Army on September 10th of 72. And I asked her to marry me over Christmas in 72. And we were married in 74, and we've been married ever since.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're married.
She is a good woman because she puts up with me. So,
My husband and I have been married 36 years. So
congratulations to you.
yeah, it's always an adventure, isn't it?
It is. It is. That's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
Most of the
Most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
Most of the time. So I always do a rapid fire questions about Key West.
Okay.
So where are you going for breakfast in Key West?
Peppies.
And what are you ordering?
The breakfast I pretty order anywhere I go, which is 2 eggs over easy, sausage, and hash browns. And toast.
Do you get the homemade bread or the toast?
Homemade bread. Toasted them.
Yeah. The coconut's my favorite.
Yeah, coconut is not a favorite of mine, so I steer clear from that. But everything else, I'm with you.
Yep. Where do you go for coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
Oh,
My morning drink is a Diet Coke.
okay. Interesting. You're the
Yeah.
first person who has said that.
Yeah.
Um,
Never like coffee. Never like the taste of it. And I don't like hot drinks at all. I don't drink tea. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink hot chocolate. I like my drinks ice cold.
There you go. Favorite place for Diet Coke?
I would probably, if I was having lunch, if I was at a bar, I'd drink Corona. I wouldn't drink Diet Coke. So, I mean, any place I could find one and I was in the mood for a Diet Coke, there's really no
There you
place
go.
that steers itself to Key West for that.
So, where's your favorite happy hour in Key West?
I always liked the outside bar at the chart room.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, not at the chart room, at the Pier House. I liked Janine a lot. Who was the afternoon bartender there, and I think she still is. She was always very nice, very kind to me. I liked the way she took care of people. Just a pleasant place to be, and I've met a lot of friends there that I have now that I never had before. I mean, really good friends. We still communicate all the time, and that kind of friend. And I like that. I loved going later in the afternoon to the Schooner Wharf and listening to Mike McLeod. That was one of my favorites. I mean, a sunny afternoon at the Schooner Wharf with a cold beer and him up there on the stage. There's nothing much better than that.
Do you ever go up to the upper deck and listen and watch the boats up there?
This was only because I had to, because they were full. But I like it down near the bar.
Yeah, I like the upstairs sometimes. You can still hear the music and you don't have to deal with the crowd.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're going for dessert. What are you having for dessert? Is it key lime pie, ice cream? What are you having?
I'd probably have ice cream.
Have you been to Wicked Lick?
No, I have not. No.
It's pretty cool. It's nitrogen made right in front of you. So it's,
Oh boy!
yeah,
Wow.
it's a show. Of course, Flamingo Crossing has those that have a little bit of adult beverage in them, so that's pretty good too.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
got to. I'm not much of an alcohol drinker. I'm a beer drinker.
yeah,
I'm
I'm a
not.
wine drinker, so
I don't like alcohol, to be honest with you. I love beer, but I don't like hard alcohol. I just never have. Never have.
my husband loves beer too. So we do a lot of um, R&D is what we call it.
Yeah.
So
If you see
you
in my
are,
book, you'll see NFL a lot because I'm a Corona no lime guy.
I
No,
know.
the F is for lime. No lime. No blank lime.
That's
I
right.
like beer that tastes like beer, not like fruit.
There you go. So you're sitting at the bar drinking your beer with no lime, and you've got an empty bar stool next to you. Anybody living, dead, fictional, non-fictional, who would you want to come sit next to you?
Wow. Well, I always had a great time when Steve Thompson would come and sit with me.
Mm.
Um, oof. I sat 2 seats down from John Grisham once because he was at the beer house. But I didn't really bug him. I knew who he was, but I didn't talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I talked to Tom Cochran a lot. Uh, a lot of the guys who I like to talk to at the Pier House are gone, and that was my favorite bar at the Chart Room. A lot of them have passed away, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had I guess, a historical figure, wow, that covers a lot of ground. I honestly don't know.
Well,
I
we'll
mean,
think.
if I had an opportunity to have had a real conversation with Jimmy Buffett, I think I would have enjoyed that rather
Yeah.
than just a meeting. I
Mm-hmm.
think I would have enjoyed. I really would have enjoyed that. But
Couple beers, just sitting there chatting.
yeah, I mean, I sort of like to just meet people,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know, and see how it goes from there.
Yep.
It's part of
Um,
the you're way somewhere. You're not near the people that you know, as per se, and there's all these other people there, and it's a good way to find out things about local areas and just people. I like to hear people's stories.
and I always equate this to the fact that I call myself, my husband and myself are bar people. So if we go into a place, we always try to sit at the bar because you meet the most interesting people at the bar and you can
I
have
am the
great
same.
conversations.
I am the same. I don't go to the tables. I want to sit at the bar
Me too.
because you're right. I've met some of the nicest people I've known in my entire life sitting at bars. I've met some jerks too, and they would probably say the same thing about meeting me. But by and large, I've met a lot of good people that several of whom I still have as friends, and I like that. I always have enjoyed that. Still have my here in Little New Kensington. There's a place called Joe's Place. And going there for I don't know how many years, and
Hmm.
still go there every Saturday afternoon for a while, sit and talk to my buddies, and it's just I like a bar.
I do too. I really do. So as we close up our conversation, what's next for Chip Bell?
Well, uh, I'm basically, like I said, I think I'm going to retire from the practice of law. Uh, I'm going to have another grandbaby here, which my wife and I we watch Parker, our little one, and we will watch this one also because both of my daughters and their husbands work. Um, so we help with the kids in the afternoons and mornings, and I'll enjoy the hell out of that. Um, I may get the itch at some point to write another book in the Jake Sullivan series. I don't know. I haven't yet. Uh, I'm sort of someone who something happens because that happens. I get interested in writing about it. That's a lot. I found out my mother she was a McMaster. That was her maiden name, and we believed, as far as we could find out, that she was related to a guy named Sherm McMaster. I didn't know who Sherm McMaster was till I was watching Tombstone, the movie, and found out that the guy that switched from the bad guys to the good guys,
Hmm.
that wore the black sombrero and the black outfit,
Hmm.
was a man named Sherm McMaster who really existed. So I started investigating, and I found out he did it. He did exist and was a pretty big player in that era in Tombstone. But he died, and no one knows where, how. No one knows where his grave is. No one is sure when he died. There's different people say different things. Wyatt Earp says one thing. Uh, a McClowry brother, one of the opposition, says another thing. His family went to do something about probate, someone else's estate, and they had to put his death. And they gave it a date, but not where, how, when. They only gave it a year, not even a date, a full month or anything. So no one knows what happened to him. That intrigued me.
Hmm.
And as I started to look, the year 1888 became very significant. And then, just by happenstance, it became significant for a whole other reason that just fit into the book perfectly. And there were certain meteorological events that just I found that I couldn't believe just fit into this year. And then I just started writing about all that. It came out as full moon, blood moon,
Wow.
because that's sort of the key part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
There's two blood moons that happened over Tombstone, Arizona in the year 1888.
Wow.
It was a very rare occurrence. So I had Sherm, play his role one more time. My Sherm, anyway.
That's amazing.
I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. I mean, that's not going to be a series or anything. It was a standalone. But, I found something else like that I decide I want to write about. Or like I said, I may get the itch to do another Jake book.
There you go.
Don't know yet.
You don't know.
Time will tell.
And we'll tell. If nobody has any questions that they've put in the comments, Chip, thank you for joining me today and giving our book club such a fun August adventure with Come Monday. Anything else you want to let us know?
I can't think of anything. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. Those of you who have not read the Jake Sullivan series, give it a shot. See if you like it. If you don't, that's okay. If you do, that's great too. So I appreciate it all. It's all, as I said, been fun. And if it ain't fun, I ain't doing it.
That is wise words to live by. And if you are and if you're wanting to check out the Jake Sullivan series or anything else about Chip Bell, be sure to check out everything over at his website at chipbell.com. Of course, we'll put the links down in the show notes as well as links to the Amazon listings for all of his books. And of course, I want to thank again today's sponsor for our podcast, which is Eyewitness Key West True Crime Tour. That's a lot to say in one word. You can learn more about what they're doing or even book a tour over at FunInKeyWest.com/crime. Until next time. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to, and I'm sorry, I normally don't plug things, but these guys have been so good to me, especially John McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
If you like trop rock music, I suggest you listen to his music. He is very, very talented. I think you would enjoy the music. And the same goes for Eric Stone, who's now a writer, an author also.
Mm-hmm.
He has some books out. And Donnie Brewer. I mean, these are good guys. They're good people. They're good musicians. They're very talented artists. And they did me great favors, and they helped me a lot. And I appreciate it. And I was able to do something I never otherwise would have done. So if you can give them a listen and see if you like their music and buy a couple of their tunes, that would be very nice. I would appreciate that greatly, and I'm sure they would too.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I'm going to put their links to their Spotify albums and everything in the show notes. But I spent the afternoon listening, and I got lost. And I agree, they are amazing musicians, and the songs they transport you.
They do. Which is what they're supposed to do, and they do. You're right.
They do.
Hopefully, Jake does the same thing for some people.
I think he does. He really does. So, Chip, again, thank you so much. And,
thank you.
And to you who is watching and or listening, until next time, I want you to keep reading, keep exploring, and remember, in Key West, paradise usually has a backstory. So thank you for being part of it. Well, I hope you had as much fun listening to this conversation as I did having it. What stayed with me most was how on one rainy weekend, one song title, and one chance meeting with Jimmy Buffett grew into 25 books, new friendships, music, travel, and an entirely unexpected chapter in Chip's life. Maybe that is part of the magic here. Sometimes the story you are meant to tell starts with something small, and you do not realize where it's taking you until you're already well into the adventure. You can learn more about Chip Bell and the Jake Sullivan series at chipbellauthor.com. I have also included links in the show notes to Come Monday, the complete series, and the musicians Chip mentioned during our conversation. And if you enjoy true crime, Key West history, and the stories hiding behind those postcard perfect streets, be sure to check out today's sponsor, the Eyewitness Key West True Crime Tour at FunInKeyWest.com/crime. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. I truly appreciate every listen, every share, and every time you come back for another story. Until next time, keep reading, keep exploring, and remember, in Key West, paradise usually has a backstory.